Hey, it's our first lesson since we've been quarantined. I hope you guys had a good weekend. I know all of you are so excited to get to do Algebra 2 at home, but hopefully we'll get through this and we'll get to be back in class soon to visit with each other. Instead of doing normal notes, I'm just going to do a few IXL examples with you. So that way if you have any questions over the assignments, hopefully this will help you. Alright, the first problem is we're wanting to solve for x. We've been working with square root functions in class, so now we're going to learn how to solve equations with square roots in them. So the first one is the square root of negative 5 plus x equals 10. So I want to get x by itself, and in order to do that, I need to get rid of the radical. So my first step would be to square each side, because I know the inverse of a square root is to square. So this would end up being the square of a square root eliminates your radical. So you're left with what's underneath it, which would be negative 5 plus x equals, and then 10 squared, which is 100. Alright, so we've already simplified this equation quite a bit. Now all you have to do is solve for x. So I would add 5 to each side, and I would just be left with x equals 105. Alright, next example. So I'm going to solve for you. This one's a little bit easier. I would still do the same thing. I need to get rid of the radical, so the inverse is taking the square root would be to square each side. So I'm going to raise each of them to the second power. The square root of u squared is just u, because it just gets rid of the radical and you're left with what's underneath. And then I would need to multiply 1/12 times 1/12, which would give me 1 over 144. And it wants you to write your answer as a fraction, so I would just type it in just like that, 1 over 144. Alright, this problem is a little bit harder. I've got some more math involved. The first thing I need to do is isolate the j. So since the j is in one term of all of this, I need to add the 8 first to get it to the other side. So negative 8 plus 8 is 0, and then 4 plus 8 is 12. So I'm still left with 2 times the square root of j minus 15, and it would equal 12. Okay, now I need to isolate the radical since the j is under it, so I would divide each side by 2, and I would get j minus 15, the square root of j minus 15 equals 6. And now we're down to what we have been working with on the previous two examples. In order to get j by itself, I need to get rid of this radical. So I would square each side, which would just leave me with j minus 15 equals 6 squared, which is 36. And then add 15, and I would be left with j equals 51. Okay, last example. Okay, this one looks a little bit different because I have a radical on each side. So same thing, I would want to square each side to get rid of that radical. And whenever I do that, whenever I take the square of a square root, I'm just left with what's underneath it. So this would just end up being negative 6m equals negative 3m plus 9. So I'm going to get all my variables on the same side. Since this 3m is negative, I'm going to add it to carry it over here to the left side. Negative 6m plus 3m would be negative 3m equals 9. And then I would divide each side by -3 to get what 1m equals. And I would be left with 9 divided by -3, so m would equal -3. Alright, that's it for this IXL. If you ever have any questions, don't hesitate to call or text me, and I will try to get back to you and help you.